Hi software, welcome to your code along introducing else if to our conditional statements. Please make sure, my cat's hanging out with us, he's going to be here for a while. Please make sure that you've opened up the starter code that I am looking at through the link in your work, and make sure you are logged in. It says hello, your name. Go to file duplicate to get your copy, and then also remember to keep hitting file save. You guys, once you're clicked into your code, you can also hit Command S if you're on a Mac, or Control S if you are on a Windows computer or a Chromebook or whatever, in order to save your work. We want to save really often, and sometimes using the keyboard shortcut can be super helpful. Like all code alongs, I recommend making sure you can see this video and your code at the same time through split screens. And just remember that you are always welcome to pause and rewatch, or whatever you need to do to make sure that you are getting the things that I am coding with you. You guys know that I type fast and I work at a little bit of a different pace, so if you ever feel like I'm going too quickly, just pause and catch up and then rewatch whatever you need to. So today, we are going to start using these else-if statements in our code, and you're going to notice we have something that looks very much like what you guys were doing last week. It's all off of setup and draw. It's just very vanilla, plain JavaScript. There's nothing specific to P5 here. And I have only made two variables this time. I have made one for a movie and one with my sign. This is my actual sign for anyone who's curious. And the movie is solely based on the fact that today, I don't know when you guys are watching this, but today is the day after Thanksgiving, and I have been laying around watching Disney movies in my pajamas all day. So you guys are going to get some Disney-inspired code along. For our code along, we're going to add on to this idea of if and else. We are going to say that if the movie is Ratatouille, I want to say that movie is about a rat. If the movie is about Tangled, I want to say that movie is about some hair. And otherwise, I want to say don't know that movie. So this doesn't quite work with just the if and else that we've learned before. I need one more thing to get me going. So let's start writing our conditional, and you'll see what this is going to look like. Just like before, I'm going to start my conditional with if. Conditional statements will always start with an if. Else if and else are not required, but the if to start it, really necessary. So just like last time, I like to set up all my syntax first. So I have my all lowercase if on line 8, then I have my parentheses, and then I'm just going to open and close my curly brackets. Again, P5 is so nice, it's going to close it for us. So I'm just going to hit enter so it drops down, and if the indentation bothers you, you can always manually adjust, or you can use that edit tidy code button to get things to snap into place. Now, once I've done this, you're going to notice that the computer's mad because it doesn't have a condition. So let's give it our first condition. If movie is the same as Ratatouille, and notice my capitalization and my spelling are going to be exact, because we know the computer is not smart enough to figure out what we mean when something is lowercase, or if we have a typo to figure out what we were trying to say. So if something ever doesn't work right, the very first thing we should check for is, did I spell it correctly? Now, inside my conditional, and remember inside means between the curly braces, so right now that's line 9, between the brace on line 10 and the brace on line 8, and again, P5 is so nice to highlight this for you if you click by them. I'm going to go ahead and say, that movie is about a rat. And then I can actually go ahead and add my else statement in, because we know how to do that. So I'm going to put in an else, I'm going to put in my brackets. Remember, else statements don't have a condition. And I can say console.log, I don't know that movie. And I have something that looks very similar to what we were doing last week. But I want another condition to be checked for. I want to be able to give a specific answer if they watched Tangled, and maybe even a specific answer if they watched a few other different movies. So to do that, I'm going to put my cursor at the end of my line 10, where that closing curly brace is for my if statement, and I'm going to hit enter, so now I am between where my if statement ends on line 10 and where my else statement ends on line 12. And I'm going to put in something called an else if statement. In Python last year, when you guys saw these, they were called elifs, and in JavaScript, it's the same idea, but they use the word else space if, all lowercase, and like your first if statement that begins this conditional block, there is a parentheses for a condition. Then, like everything else in JavaScript, there is that opening and curly bracket, which is going to help you decide where this else if begins and ends, and everything in between here, that's going to be your action. So again, computer is kind of mad because I didn't give it a condition. So this is the place where I can program in my condition for tangled. So I can say, if that movie is tangled, then here where my action should be between lines 13 and line 11, where this curly brace begins and ends, I can say to console log, that movie is about hair. And now, if we hit play, because movie is currently Ratatouille, it says this movie is about a rat, but if I change the movie to tangled, it tells me that movie is about hair. And if I change the movie to Moana, it says I don't know that movie because I haven't given a specific reaction for Moana. Now these else-if statements are really cool because you can add as many of them as you want, as long as they're coming after that if statement and they don't go after an else. So else is optional, but it will always come at the very end if you are using one. If will always be at the beginning, else if will always be in the middle, and you can have as many else ifs as you want. So if I did want Moana to be an option, down below I could make a new else if with my parentheses, my curly braces. I can adjust this if I want to or not. I can say that if the movie is Moana, let's console log that movie is about boats. And now when I hit play, it should tell me that movie is about boats. And I could keep adding as many of these as I need to. Now, this is like our first good example of this code starting to look messy. Like we've talked about in JavaScript, indentation doesn't matter, but it's still, like it's not super pretty to look at right now. So this is another great time to use edit tidy code. And something you'll notice when you tidy the code is that the convention of this editor is to put the curly brace on the same line as where your else if or your else starts. That's totally fine. It's not wrong. It's really just a personal preference. There's actually a lot of ways that you can position these curly braces in regards to like spacing and line breaks. You will see some people do one over the other. I like to hit enter here just so that it's a little bit more spaced out. But that's just me. You can do it however makes sense to you, and tidy code is useful regardless because it does get rid of some of that blank space. Now, when you guys are done with this, you're going to see that your task is going to be to make one single conditional statement block, but it is going to have an if and lots of else ifs and also an else statement. So you can start wherever you want, but you're going to be programming a conditional that will deal with any sign you put in. So if you change whatever my sign is, it will give an answer. And depending on the sign that goes in, it is going to say you were born between these dates. So I used Aries as an example. If my sign is Aries, it should say you were born between May 21st and April 19th. If it said Aquarius, it would say you were born between, this is horrible, I don't actually know the range, my birthday is January 25th, but it would tell you what that range is. And those would all be else ifs. Whatever sign you want starts first in the if, everything else is an else if, and at the end you should include an else. This is a best practice that just says, I'm not sure what sign it is, and that's just a way to catch any typos and let you know that something's not working correctly. If you have any questions about this, please come to support hours, shoot me an email, shoot me a Slack. I'm very available to help you guys, and good luck with your else if conditionals. Bye guys!